Hi, everyone, and welcome to another weekly energy forecast. This is week commencing the 28th of April, 2025. Welcome. I'm going to try and do this a little bit quicker than usual, just because I feel like the part of the issue I'm having with posting these updates on Instagram is because I talk for way too long. So I'm going to try and keep it short, but we'll see how we go. This is an interesting week. It feels amazing. We're finally moving forward. I'm really excited about this, and I can't tell if it's just because I'm an Aries and I'm impatient and I like to move, or whether everybody is feeling sick of the slow stagnation and just wants to get going. We've had all of these retrogrades happening. It's been such a slow start to the year. In even the spring season, when things kind of start to go full swing, this year we've had so many retrogrades going over that time. So it's been quite polarizing in a lot of ways because generally we're like pushing off the starting blocks in spring, but we're only really getting going this week. But it's happening, guys. We've made it. We've got through a really meaty, intense period of time over the last couple of months. We're obviously not through it. 2025 is a huge year anyway, but we're through the intensity and the condensed allotness that was March and April, which hopefully now will really start to be a lot less intense. Some juicy transits coming up in the summer, which look really nice. Yeah, we're getting there and we are moving forward, and I'm delighted. I love this week's astrology. Still a little bit tense at the beginning of the week. We are still coming off the back of the new moon, which happened yesterday at 8:30 at night. We're still very much in new moon energy right now. New beginnings. We've got that Mars-Pluto opposition, and then the moon and sun there in a new moon creating a T-square. So it's been tense. It's been pulling in opposite directions. It's hot, it's fiery, it's transformative. It can feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you. It's not the greatest time to have difficult conversations because everybody's feeling the tension, right? So you will be feeling this more if you have anything between like 1 and 4 degrees, I would say, of the fixed signs. So that's Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. Struggling with these at the moment for some reason. You may have been feeling this more personally if you have any planets or points there. However, it's collective, right? As well, like these transits affect us collectively. All of us have those points in our birth chart. We may not have significant points there. So when people are feeling a lot of tension, even though it can kind of get us to a point where we're aware and we're conscious that we want to make a change, or we need to have a difficult conversation, or we need to move something forward, because there's so much tension out there, it can sometimes, especially something like this in particular, it can sometimes maybe create a reaction that's disproportionate to what's actually happening. So when we're having difficult transits like this, I would just always advise to notice the discomfort, notice the tension, notice the friction. And it's not being avoidant, but it's just about maybe not quite addressing it when the energy is so hot and fiery and intense, because the impact of that might not necessarily be needed. Like if you had a difficult conversation, the impact of that might hurt a lot more than when you did it in 4 days' time when it's calmed down. So just be mindful of that. We're still coming off that tension. There is that grittiness. We've also got Taurus season. We've got Mercury has cleared its pre-retrograde shadow now, so it's wrapped up its retrograde journey, and we're really like plain sailing. Mercury's in Aries, loving life there. Mars is clearing its pre-retrograde shadow this week, right at the end of the week. It's in Leo. It likes to be in Leo. We're in a nice fire sign there. We're headed to a first quarter moon, so this week, we're starting just a new moon towards the end of the week where energy is building, 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 building. We're in the full swing of the spring season. Taurus is all about endurance. We have got so much energy with us to take aligned action and just do something. So I am loving this a lot. The energy is finally aligning. It doesn't feel like that push-pull this week as much. Even though we've got this tension at the beginning of the week, it's not tension that's going to stop us from doing anything. Like they often talk about like, the luteal phase of a cycle where like you kind of like get that gritty, cleaning, aggressive energy where you can just like get shit done. This is almost like the Mars coming off the back of the Mars Pluto. It's a bit gritty, but we've also got all of this forward moving energy underneath it. So it almost feels like you could really aggressively like attack your taxes or something like that, like moving something forward in a way that's like beneficial to you, and that you can kind of channel some of that gritty energy in a way that's healthy, in a way that's going to really serve you moving forward. And sometimes, when we have tension and we've got strong energy there, actually just maintaining your boundaries can be the most helpful thing you can do at that time. So it's not to say if you don't, if a difficult conversation isn't absolutely needed, of course you should take that, always check in with your inner compass, what feels right, understand what the motivation is behind, what it is you're doing, but just be mindful if you can. However, one of the best things you could probably maybe do in a Mars Pluto opposition could be like Mars, the warrior planet, Pluto, the planet of power plays, maybe even going to war with that. Like it is that, and it is creating tension and it's creating friction, but friction and tension are the things that help us address things, grow, and move on, right? So there's no black or white in astrology. However, that's just a rough guideline of just something to be mindful of because we can be very mindlessly affected by these things without knowing. And when we have awareness around them, then that's when they can be helpful. Um, so yes, lots happening this week, really juicy energy, which is going to help us move things forward and it's going to feel really good. So let's get into it. So Wednesday, the 30th of April, we have Venus re-entering Aries. So that's really when things are going to start picking the pace up. We've got Mars, so we've had retrogrades from Mars, Mercury, and Venus this year. So the Mars and Mercury are both clearing their retrograde shadow this week, and then Venus is moving into Aries from Pisces, where it's all endings and presence and slowness and juiciness and compassion and all of that stuff. Then it's going to move into Aries and get super hot and fiery and want to get shit done. So again, another shift in tone that's just going to help with that forward momentum. Um, Venus is slightly more tense here because Mars isn't having the best time right now being in that opposition to Pluto. It can be pretty a lot. And because Aries is ruled by Mars, it affects Venus a little bit in this position. Venus is in her fall in Aries. She doesn't particularly love to be there. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but she behaves a bit differently. Instead of being gentle and soft and compassionate, and it's all about the relating to others, Aries is a fiery and independent. It's active, it's hot, it can be like Venus in Aries can be quite playful, it can be magnetic, it can be bold, courageous, independent. So Venus attracts and draws things to it. Venus is so Jupiter expands, like the two benefic planets. One expands, one's expansive, and the other one is magnetic, right? Venus, like the feminine quality is magnetic, it receives, right? So Venus behaves this way. The energy of Venus behaves this way. So there could be an area in your chart that's getting some goodness, some real good fortune with this Venus transit, particularly as she's starting to clear her pre-retrograde shadow. It might be that something in your life came up around January time that was looking a little bit, I don't know, like sticky or thought that it was going somewhere and then things have been delayed. Things are moving forward now, particularly with Venus moving back into Aries, and we're revisiting some of those themes that came up in the retrograde. So it might not be that something new, but it might be that that area of life that's been kicking up a little bit of dust over the last few months, you might start to feel like things are moving forward and some good things are coming, particularly if you're born at night, because Venus is more benefic for you if you were born at night, if you're a night chart baby. However, Venus is generally good all round. It's just, I would say, if you're a day chart baby, it's more like pretty good. Night chart baby, we're having a great time. So yeah, just something to be aware of. It might bring some good stuff. It could bring the wrap up of a journey. Like, we've spoken about a lot, like the Venus retrograde journey is about kind of going down into the underworld, coming back up, and now we're on the surface and we're retracing those steps again. So we're kind of reintegrating after a period of where we've really gone there with something. So have a look at where this is falling in your chart. There's some good stuff potentially coming with this nice transit. Again, though, she's a little bit grittier than last time, so there might be a little bit of tension. But generally, Venus does bring good things, and it is quite bold and courageous and fiery as well. So it's going to bring some forward movement. It's going to inject some life into this area of life that might felt like it's really been going backwards for quite a while. I have personally got this going on in my fourth house. I've been renovating my house and I am so excited for things to move forward again because it has been slow and annoying and I'm ready. So Friday, the 2nd of May, we have a pretty nice North Node transit. So North Node in Pisces sextiling Uranus and Taurus at 26 degrees. So this is just so we had a lot of North Node Saturn Venus going on last week, which was very much about this is going to continue the conversation, I feel like. It's not separate at all. And this North Node, Saturn, Venus, remember I was talking about it in my last video. It's a lot about structuring something new, a new future potential, but particularly with it being the North Node. And then, something where we need to take responsibility, lay the groundwork for something that's going to be long lasting potentially. So again, have a look at the area of life that that was activating for you. But this little sextile from Uranus is almost just like a little nudge in the right direction. It's maybe you can suddenly see, okay, the things that came up last week, this is where it's going. Because Uranus is the future, it's the awakener. It kickstarts energy. It's like lightning bolt energy. So if you almost imagine like an injection of energy into something. So what in this area of life are you being called to like step up and go in a new direction potentially? Like Uranus kind of turns stuff on its head. It can make us do a bit of a 180. It can completely change something really suddenly. But you'll be getting a bit of an awakening in this area of life this week. So it's just, and it's going to be supportive because it's in a sextile. So it's not like an awakening, a bit of a shock. If it was in a square, we'd be like, ouch, this could hurt. Maybe it could help like earthquake us back on track. This is different. These are like, this is quite a friendly transit. So it's almost just like a little nudge of energy in the right direction. So again, just pay attention to anything that comes up around Friday, particularly if it's been building on themes from last week, because it's just going to be continuing that conversation a little bit. Just a nice little injection. And then we have Venus in Aries conjunct Neptune in Aries for the first time. So this is a big deal. This is the first time we've had a Venus-Neptune conjunction in Aries in our lifetime. Neptune has just moved into Aries and it will be staying there now for like 14 years, I think. I'm pretty sure. But this is just something to be mindful of. So whenever planets have their first conjunction after a planet has ingressed into a new sign, it sets a new tone and it almost triggers again the themes. Like when a planet ingresses, an outer planet ingresses into a sign, it's important. When it stations or retrograde or stations direct, it becomes important. And when it makes its first conjunction, it begins its first conversation of this new cycle with each planet. That's also pretty significant. So this is like Venus and Neptune together are like quite romantic because Venus is the planet of relationships. Neptune is a visionary, it's creative, it's dreamy. It can be a little bit like things that are out of our reach or we don't quite understand. It can be associated with like glamour, Hollywood fame, that kind of thing. In Aries together, there's like a fiery warlikeness to it. So it's almost like this fighty, glamorous actress that's just like fuming about something that's going to make a change in the world, but maybe is a little bit deluded because she thinks that she's going to have more impact than is actually possible. I don't know, something along those lines, but I'm just trying to give you like a little bit of an archetype to kind of visualize this a bit. So it's a potent time for romance. It's quite fiery and passionate and idealistic. We have a potential to romanticize things a little bit when we're having a transit like this. So just be wary on Friday. I think because we've got this North Node Uranus sextile happening on the same day, just maybe wait a couple days before to make sure that the clarity you got at that time was actually clarity and not just Neptune making things a little bit hazy and seemingly wonderful. Or again, check in with your inner compass. Again, your strategy and authority in human design is incredibly helpful for making aligned decisions. It will never lead you wrong if you follow it. So get that information. It's on our website. It's so incredibly helpful and it will help you navigate all of this effectively. It's also ripe for the potential for illusions, this, as I was mentioning. So there's almost like we could get something on Friday that's like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is a great idea. I feel really fired up. Like there's no way it could possibly go wrong. This could happen. This could happen. We're going to be millionaires or whatever. And then after the transit lessons off, it might kind of calm things down. However, this isn't bad, right? Neptune and like, it kind of blows up our capacity to dream. So it's not that like romanticizing and dreaming and idealizing and kind of connecting with like future potentials is bad because it's not, right? Neptune kind of gives us this limitless that our minds maybe wouldn't have usually. That's why Pisces people can often be really good manifestors because there's no limits to what they can dream. So they don't close themselves down in the way like maybe an earth sign would, right? So this isn't a bad transit, but we just need to be aware that we may be overly idealistic at this time. We might romanticize something. And because it's in Aries, we might just jump in straight away. So just be mindful mindful, right? That's the negative expression. However, Aries Neptune could bring us bravery to act on dreams, right? So again, like that's another manifestation. However, just let the Neptune lesson off a little bit before we take the action. Again, use your inner compass to guide you. Strategy and authority and human design will never lead you wrong. Um, there's great potential here for manifestation because Aries wants to act and it will put those dreams into action. This will be happening in a certain area of your chart that's been getting a lot of action recently, and you've probably not been able to move things forward. And then suddenly, like Venus comes in and it's like, let's go. And then Neptune comes in and it's going to haze and confuse things and make you think that you can achieve whatever you want, which is lovely because it will connect you with future potential. However, just be careful because it can make things seem better than they are, essentially. So just being mindful around this transit is really helpful, but also go with the forward moving energy. Just be careful you're not diving in head first and maybe give it a few days just to get a bit more clarity. Ride out the wave. Okay, and then we've got Mars clearing its pre-retrograde shadow. That's happening officially on Friday as well. So again, we've got this real gear shift of like, go move forward, but then Neptune's just, it's a little bit of a red flag. Just be careful. So yeah, being mindful. Do not ignore those feelings of moving forward. They are helpful. They're there for you. But Neptune just sometimes needs a reality check. Okay. And then Sunday, the 4th of April, our final transit of the week, Pluto stations retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. Now, outer planets going retrograde, not so much of a big deal. They spend about half the year retrograde anyway because they move so slowly. It's not like the Venus, Mars, Mercury retrograde, they're personal planets. They affect us a lot more when they have retrograde cycles. Even Jupiter retrograde, like it's not a personal planet, but we still feel those a little bit more than we would like an outer planet. But when we have a station, direct or retrograde, the themes become enhanced. And because Pluto has been in this conversation with Mars and the new moon in Taurus, in this tense T square where there's been a lot happening, it might just continue this undertone of tension for a little bit longer. Now, Mars has moved on. Mars is 3 degrees away now, so it's not like it's fully operational. But because it's happening at the degree point that the opposition and the new moon happened at, like in that T square, it's carrying on the conversation a little bit, but it's a bit less tense. So again, like that's what I mentioned before about we're coming off the back of it at the beginning of the week, but then this retrograde at the end just kind of like keeps it going for a little bit longer. So when a planet stations, it becomes more pronounced. So the themes of that planet become bigger, and they become I've described this to you guys before, like somebody is like it's like a planet's moving along and then someone's just going like this. I don't know why I always want to explain it, but it's almost like someone's just like doing this and then it'll turn around and then go back and it'll lessen off a little bit. So it's blowing things up this week. So there might be an echo of some of the themes of tension that have been coming up over the last few weeks. Again, this is just Pluto doing its thing. Pluto is pretty transformative. Pluto is quite revolutionary, particularly in Aquarius, which is where it's stationing. So those Aquarian themes might come more to light maybe than the fiery Leo themes and the stubborn Taurus themes that have been coming up again with that T square. So the Pluto side of this might be getting a little bit more emphasis. So have a look at where 3 degrees of Aquarius is in your birth chart. That will give you an indication of what area of life this is activating for you. Again, don't worry, Pluto's going to be there for 20 years. It's not going to be like messing your life up in that area of life for 20 years. That's not what happens. You are going through probably a much more subtle transformation in that area. However, the direct stations and the retrograde stations can sometimes bring themes up. So it's quite transformational. Pluto's power. Pluto can sometimes be destructive. It gets to the depths of things. It excavates. It kind of brings things up to the surface for us to look at. So it's not a new conversation, this. It's been happening for a while, particularly at this 3-degree point of Aquarius. It's been working with for a while now. But yeah, just be mindful, like there might be a little bit of tension here. That's okay. We are moving forward at the moment, and anything that's coming up is just asking to be transformed. So it's not, something's coming up just to mess your life up again for the sake of it, especially with it being a Pluto station. There's potential for transformation here if we really take a look and really go into something. So just be mindful of that little point of tension at the end of the week. It's not the most dramatic thing that's happening this year in any way, but just something to maybe take note of. So I think that's everything I wanted to go into this week. We've got some really nice practices on the membership to support this energy. So obviously, we usually work with Chinese medicine and energy practices on the membership where we focus on building momentum behind your intentions. But this month, like with the push pull, there's not been as much of a focus on that. But because all the energy is aligning, this is such a great week to really harness the spring energy, just connect with it, get into it. So we've recommended some practices. We've got a really nice practice called building momentum behind your intentions and energy techniques in an EFT thing where you're getting your energy, your physical energy, your energetic energy aligned with what you actually intend to do. So it's a really powerful practice, really helpful. We've got a energy technique session on following your heart, working with the radiant circuit. So you're aligning your intrinsic motivation with the actions that you're taking. So again, fantastic session for realignment. And then we also have a 5-minute daily routine, which will help you do that every day. So just such a brilliant time to be leaning on these practices. They are going to help you so much. Even if you just do the 5-minute one every day or like a once or twice, like 1 to 3 times a week, you're going to start really feeling the benefits of this. And then we also have a liver and gallbladder energy medicine yoga session. So they are the organs associated with the wood element that are associated with the spring season. They're all about assertive action again. So when the energy pathways of these organs are functioning well, then you are much more able to take action because you're physically and energetically behind them, as well as mentally and having intention behind your intentions. You're also getting the whole of you on board behind what you're willing to do. So balancing these energies at this time, so helpful. Really fun work to do when you start connecting and building a relationship with these energy pathways as well. So all the resources are there on our membership. We've got a new moon coaching call tonight if anyone wants to join us, where we'll get into a theme for the month, and then we'll be setting some intentions and sharing what we're going to be focusing on for the next month. So it helps with a bit of accountability, being witnessed, all of those things. And then we've also got some really nice new moon journal prompts there for you as well. So if anyone is interested, want to join us on the membership, please do. Our doors are open and everybody is welcome. We'd love to have you. I hope you all have a great week. Enjoy taking action. Let me know how you're feeling, how you're receiving this energy. Again, any like little comments and stuff, like how it landed for you. It's just so interesting to me and so helpful. So please let me know if anything is coming up for you at the moment. I can have a little look at your chart, and then yeah, I'll catch you all in the next update next week. Lots of love.